guys, and thank you for joining me today for my first budget check-in of the 2022 year. I'm going to go ahead and get into that in a second. First thing I wanted to say is thank you for joining me today. It means the world to me that you clicked on my video and you're ready to watch me check in and join me in this budget journey. Just wanted to say as a reminder, if you haven't already, please hit subscribe. That way you get any notifications for any videos that I post. That way it just lets you know. And I'm telling you guys, this year I'm hitting the ground running. I have so many ideas for videos and things to share with you and so many things that we want to do, and you're not going to want to miss out. So I'm just going to go ahead and start diving into the budget check-in. What I have been doing is it's barely the first week, so we get paid on Friday the 7th. So that part is not going to be included in the budget. It's just in my check-in. It's just going to be everything from up to there. I kind of did the breakdown. If you caught my January budget video, you can find that on my YouTube page. I kind of talked about how I set it up a lot more, but I'll kind of just let you know. The way I kind of have it is kind of breaking down by paycheck, which is why every budget is set up for every Friday. So the budget that I have set up so far is for the 7th, but there are transactions that have already occurred that I do want to track. I want to make sure I track everything, true up everything by Thursdays. And then that way come Friday, it's a fresh start and I know how much I have for the budget going forward. The way I decided to do this is since it is a new year, and I'm really getting into my budget officially because I have been dabbling with it for the past couple of months. I wanted to start fresh. So this is kind of the way I'm doing it. It's kind of like if I have nothing in my account. And like I mentioned before, I do have a little bit of a buffer. It's nothing major, but it's nothing that's going to be accounted for in my budget planner because I'm going to start like if I'm starting fresh. So I'll record those expenses there. I went ahead and for this past week, everything that was due, I wrote down how much was taken out. Vivint, I thought was supposed to be paid the 4th, but I haven't seen it come through. So maybe I'm missing something. I don't know what happened there, but I'm gonna have to check that. I wrote a note over here, AT&T on the 4th, because when I was looking up, I thought I saw that at one point it did come out on the 4th, but then every other transaction after that has been on the 8th. So that was just something I wanted to pay attention to, but I haven't seen anything come through. So I think the 8th is the real date. And then I went ahead and added onto this monthly view. I use this, let me see if I find it. Yeah, I use this marker from Erin Condren, and it stamps the little asterisk or whatever, asterisk. I never know how to say it. It stamps that on there. And so I decided that I'm going to be using this for any transactions that happen, any major transactions. So Sunday, my daughters went to a birthday party for one of their friends from cheer. So I went ahead and I marked that on there and the amount that it was. And then in parentheses, I added what fund it would be coming out. So this is going to be coming out of our Christmas/gift fund. So I went ahead and marked that in there. So what I'm going to do, and I had started, I wrote one briefly because it kind of threw me off, I guess I could take this off, right? Okay, so this is how I set it up. So this will be the first paychecks that come in for week 1. So week 1 is, like I mentioned, the first Friday, which is on the 7th. So this is going to be everything that happens on the 7th. So paychecks, they don't deposit until tomorrow, with the exception of one that has already deposited. But since they don't deposit till tomorrow, but through my bank, I'm able to see how much is going to deposit. And doing that, I already know that the difference is going to be $163.97. And this is, I'm not going to put anything around it because this is positive. So on our paychecks, we got an extra $163.97 from what I had projected. So the difference is $163.97. So that's something that I will have to account for in my budget. But as I'm going through this, you'll kind of see where that is going. So mortgage, I didn't write my mortgage down, but mortgage wasn't any different. So that I'm going to leave in $0. So that one already got paid also, but it's coming out of Friday's budget. But I'm going to go ahead and note that there's going to be no difference from what I planned to what it actually was. Same thing for pool. There was no difference. It's always $80, so there's no difference there. Hulu and Disney, those I believe have not came out yet. Those don't come out until the 18th. So actually I'm putting away the money a lot earlier than it needs to be. So instead of going down the line, I'll just go with what has gone through. So gym went through, and that was $101.05. So as you can see, gym was 101.05. So 5 cents, $101.05. And that was a difference of $76.05 in the negative direction. So that was a lot more than I had budgeted for. But what happened was we had canceled the original gym membership we had, because if you've caught my previous Plan With Me videos, you know, or you would have seen that we were paying like something like $300 for the gym. And that was just too much, considering that we don't always have enough time to go. We rarely have time to go, honestly, because my daughters are always in cheer. So I'm moving to another gym that's going to be opening this weekend, and that's going to charge me $25 a month. But this gym fee, I hadn't documented it correctly, because I guess when I canceled it, it's a 30-day cancellation. And since I canceled it after the first, they prorated this month. So we technically still have that membership for a little bit longer. So I had to pay that fee. So that's $76.05 negative. Spectrum has not paid. Vivint has not paid. I've not taken out the money for the privates yet. Weight Watchers was another one. I had budgeted $10.66, but I guess I was on a promotion plan, because this month it came out to $23.40, which is the difference of $12.74. And so that kind of took me by surprise a little bit too. I didn't realize that the rate I had was promotional. And so it went up. And honestly, I'm not going to be paying $23 for Weight Watchers. Just with the budget goals we have and our money goals, I just don't think that that I should be paying $23 for Weight Watchers when there's so many other apps that you can track your meals and your food with. So I just think that although I love Weight Watchers, it's not a good idea for us right now. So I went ahead and canceled that. So this will be the last month. Well, I think next month I'll have to pay the fee, but I think that'll end up being a cancellation fee. So I'll probably put in the budget next month for the $23 or $24. But yeah, I'm canceling that. So after next month, anything I have to pay just to cancel, that'll be gone. Google didn't come out. Book of the month didn't come out. Gas, food, baby, I haven't done any of those yet. This is what we're negative. If you were to add these up, you would see that even though we went over on some of our categories, since we got paid a little bit more than we expected, we're going to be just fine. I'm not going to finalize this sheet with the totals yet, because I just need some of these things to come through, and I need to actually get the paychecks, because I don't really want to close everything out when I don't actually have the paychecks yet, even though I know they'll be in on Friday morning. There's two things that are going to happen. So one is going to be cash withdrawals. So that's money we have to take out, because there's certain things that we have to pay cash. And that is for my daughter's privates and for our pool. So that comes out to $560. So for cash withdrawals, I'm going to have to take out $560. So I'm noting this already right now. So that way tomorrow morning, after I drop off the girls, I can head over to the bank and take out this money so that I can make sure that I pay those items. Okay, so the next thing is move to rewards. So we have a rewards credit card that we use to pay everything. So we pay everything, and then we put the money right back in because it's already budgeted for. But doing it that way, we get cash back. Last month, I think we got back something like $60. There's been months where we've gotten back like up to $100 and something. It's basically free money if you pay off the card and you're not paying interest. It's definitely like a little tricky. I mean, if you get the cards, you have to make sure that you're spending only what you're going to be putting in, and that you pay it off at the end of the month. Because then once you start paying interest and stuff, it's just not worth it. But since we put in the money for what's being paid out of it as we go, it's been working fine for us. And then we end up with a little bit extra money throughout the month. So we continue to do that. So I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to move everything that we plan or that's supposed to be coming out into the card, and I'll always end up having like a positive balance on it because I just like to put it in there. That way when it goes through, it's already there if it hasn't processed already. And some of these have already processed, so that way it's to cover it down. But let me go ahead and calculate what that's gonna be. So this is going to be $312.93. And let me actually, I think just to make it traceable, I'm gonna put move to rewards cards with this green dot pen, and I'm gonna mark everything that is counted in that. So that way, when I look at it, I know exactly what I added together. Okay, so those are all the things that I moved together for that. And then I might as well do the same thing for cash withdrawal. So I'm gonna go ahead and use this purple one. It's a very light purple. And I'll mark everything that was put for the cash withdrawal. Okay, mortgage comes out of our checking account, so I don't need to do anything with that. It'll go straight to where our checks are deposited from. So these last three right here, gas, food, and baby, I think what I'm gonna do with those is I'm going to move them into the second checking account. Well, no, they're not sinking funds. I'm lying. Okay, so we have a second checking account that's gonna be for sinking funds, and I was thinking that maybe I should add those in there, but I'm not gonna do that. I think it's just, we're gonna be using these a lot more often, which is why, now that I'm thinking about it, I think that's why I originally never had them under sinking funds, because we use these monthly, so we don't wanna be moving money too much. So I'm gonna go ahead and add these values, and that's gonna also be moved to our rewards card. So that gives me, and I'm just gonna go ahead and write it down here. So I'm gonna have 2 lines plus the, what is it? $352.88. So that's that. And then if I sum these up together, so I'm going to be moving $665.81. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and highlight that. Okay, so this tells me what I need to do tomorrow. So the good thing is that, well, not just good thing, but mainly all of our bills are on auto draft, so they'll come out on their own. And I'm gonna just put a star on these, that way I know that these are the second number. Okay, I'm gonna write this right here, the star up there. Okay, so everything's on auto pay, so I don't really have to worry about going in and individually paying bills, but they will automatically draft out of this rewards card, so I do wanna make sure I move that money into there. So that way when it comes out, the money's already in there. These are the ones that I trace in my electronic envelopes, my electronic cash envelopes. So I use an app called Good Budgets, I believe it's called. And in there, I'm able to make my different envelopes, throw the money into them, and then I'm able to see how much I've spent, how much I have, and I can track through there. That way, the reason I do that app is because I have it on my phone and my husband has it on his phone, and they're synced. So that helps. So when he does a transaction, he can put it in, and I can see it. When I do one, I put it in. He can see it. That way we know how much is going throughout the month, because he doesn't have access to this planner because I have it with me. I'm gonna go ahead and do the check-in for this week, even though it's a little weird, a little different. I put the categories that I'm gonna be checking in weekly, and these are the same ones that I have in my Good Budget app. And then this is good to looking back on and kind of seeing our trends on how we're doing, because I tend to reset it at the end of the month on the app. I don't really use the app too much except just to track transactions as we go. But then I'll bounce that off of our bank statements and what I have documented, and then I do it that way. So it's only a portion of the way I do it, but not everything. So I'm gonna track them in here. So what I'm gonna track is gas, food, baby, pets, entertainment, cheer, expenses, and goods. So those are the main categories. But we're starting with 0 on all of them, because remember, I'm telling you, it's the beginning of the year. We're doing fresh start. So we have nothing is what we're saying. Even though there's a little bit, it's not enough significant for me to be like, oh, we have $500 in that. No, the extra money is just our cushion, emergency fund type thing. We're not touching that. We're going to be adding, so for gas, I said we were adding $90. For food, we're going to be adding $200. And I guess this does work, right? Because this is what we're gonna add this week, which will be tomorrow. Baby, we're adding $62.88. And that one, it's kind of an odd number, but it's because I do like basically a zero, what is it called? Zero-based budget. I make sure that everything that comes in, we allocate everything to where it equals zero. That way we know where everything's going. So $62.88, that's under baby. I'm not gonna put anything in pets. I'm not gonna put anything in entertainment. I'm not putting anything in cheer, and I'm not gonna put anything in goods. Nothing's gonna be put into those. This week, as of Thursday, we have not used anything, so this will all be zero. So the end balance is, starting tomorrow, is going to be $90 in gas, $200 in food, and the $62.88 in for the baby category. So I'm marking those down in here because nothing has happened. This will be what's put in tomorrow. And then when I check in next week, this will be all the transactions for the past week, which will technically be the second week because it will be, so we're on this week. So when I check in week 2, it'll be everything from Friday to Thursday. So that's week 2. So this is my week 1 and this is my week 2. That's kind of how I'm doing it. It just works better for me that way. That way I have everything checked up before Friday. So I wrote those numbers down there. So that's recorded. That's good. I know where I'm at. We had put gas last week, so I still have half a tank, and I don't work tomorrow. My husband still has, I think, about a quarter of a tank. So he might put gas tomorrow or Saturday, but that we can track for next week. I'll have to do grocery shopping this weekend, but I have to sit down and do my meal plan. I'm going to work on that a little bit later today. And then for baby, I just bought Pampers and I just bought a thing of formula, but I like to always have that money up front first because you never know when baby needs anything. So I have that in there. Now, the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to track anything that came out from sinking funds. And so I have this transaction log here just for that. And so the only thing that I have to track is Target. So that is what I was talking about. My daughters went to a birthday party on Sunday and they had to buy a gift. So that was Target. The category is going to be out of gifts. And then the amount was $45.44. Okay, so right now I'm just tracking it. I'm not going to do anything with it aside from just putting it in there, because at the end of the month, after I have all these transactions, and I mean, if I end up spending more out of my sinking funds, which I don't plan, I can always use this page. This is why I like using the graph notebook. But I'm going to track it here, and then at the end of the month, I'll add everything from the same categories together, and then this is where I'll actually track to see where I stand. So anything I put in there will be here, anything we take out will be here, and then I'll figure it out with where it is at the end of the month, and then I'll be able to get that total. That way I'll know what I'm supposed to be seeing in that second checkings account. So that's how I plan on doing that. But for today, I'm just going to track that transaction took place in my log. So yeah, that's pretty much all I really have for week 1 checkup. It's not as much going on aside from figuring out what I have to cash withdraw and what I had to move over to the card. But so far, so good. There was a few categories that I had not planned those higher amounts, but it's okay because since our checks were a little bit higher than we expected, we had that cushion for that. So the remainder of this, after I finally tally up everything, and then I get the difference. The difference from here will probably be thrown either into debt or into savings. I haven't decided yet. We've been back and forth, but I'm thinking it's probably going to be to debt because we want to pay down everything that's high interest. You know, we want to get the most for our money. So I could throw it into savings, but do I want to do that? If I throw it into savings, then I'm only going to be getting a small percentage of interest. Whereas a certain card, which I'm not sure, I had to actually look up. I don't know if we have any high interest cards We might. I think I might. I'd have to double check. But the price that you'd be paying with the high interest card loses you more money in the long run than if you were to throw this money into savings, if you throw this money into savings, if that makes sense. So but yeah, that's all I really have for the budget this week. I know next week is going to be a little bit more intense because there'll be a lot more gas, food type transactions happening. A lot more things will get paid, and then we'll have to start thinking about the next paycheck. That'll be the day after I do the check-in. But yeah, that's basically my budget for this month. But I'll check in with you guys next week, just kind of see how we're doing from there. I'll be using this one to mark our transactions in the planner because I really love using this graph notebook as a planner because, as you can see, there's so much space and so many lines that I can make sure I track all my transactions on there. And having this little key on the side, what I'm using each dot marker and all that for, just makes it easier to see what's going on. So I'm really, really loving it. I've been really loving this monthly layout since I started using it in November, just because even though it's a little tedious to have to draw it out, it just gives me a lot more space and it feels a lot more organized, and I feel like I'm not so squished in tracking my budget. Yeah, so let me know how you guys are doing with your budget. How did your guys' check-in go? How is it doing? I know other people might be doing it a little bit differently than I am. Some people do like a monthly budget, so then they start deducting every time they do a check-in, but I'm kind of doing a mix between like monthly / by paycheck. That's just what works better for us because I want to be a little bit more proactive and tracking weekly and seeing everything that comes in and where everything is going. I just want a little bit more control, so I'm reeling in my budget a little bit more. That's why I'm doing it this week. This basically essentially kind of like a paycheck by paycheck way. But I think it's going to work so far, and I think it's going to be really good. We've been so heavy into our budget, into our finances, and making our money work for us. So aside from the budget tracking, I've also started looking into investing. So that'll be something that's coming up. I kind of started evaluating whether it made more sense to put more into my 401k and bring home less monthly. And the way it's looking right now, I think it does. It makes more sense for me to kind of max out my 401k so that way I get the employer contribution and I'm putting in more, because with that like compound interest and all that, it'll be worth it for us later during retirement. So that'll bring a difference to my budget. So that'll especially be happening within the next couple of weeks. Since I upped it today, I'll see the difference in the paycheck. So although right now I know what I'm getting tomorrow, for next week I don't know what it's going to be, because I kind of have a rough idea because I started playing around with the numbers and deducting what I added into my 401k. But it'll definitely be different. So that's something I'm going to have to consider, because I'm definitely going to have to redo my budget. And I believe what's going to take the hit is going to be my sinking fund. So we had a whole bunch of sinking funds that we had planned, that we wanted to do, that we were calculating for. So those are these numbers right here. But since I will probably be, I think it's going to be something like $600 less a month, I'm going to have to cut down on some of these categories so that I can actually bring our budget down. So right now, where I had originally planned to put $1,800 a month in sinking funds, since I'm putting more into my 401k, I'm obviously not going to take that money away from paying off debts and all that, because it would not make sense. I'm going to take it out of my sinking funds, which means instead of 1,800 in sinking funds, I'm going to be putting about 1,200, I think. So that's something I'm going to have to work through for next budget, but I'll get a feel for that next week. No, the 14th, next week, when I get my paycheck and they actually take out the higher percentage, and then that'll just help me plan going forward. So that's another thing to remember. You got to remember that your budget is not like a steady, solid, never going to change. That's your budget. It's always going to change. Something's going to change. Something's going to happen. Your money goals are going to change, and you'll have to adjust for that, but that's perfectly okay. This just helps you track it, see what's going on, see where those changes were made, and then that way you have a better idea. And when you start planning on the future, you can kind of account for those things a little bit better, since you have it documented and you have the experience with it. So that's just something to consider. Like I mentioned earlier in this video, if you haven't yet, please hit subscribe. I'll be talking a lot more about our budget plans. I'll be posting my plan with me's. I plan for either tomorrow, Friday, or on Saturday to put up my video about my new releases that are be coming out, or I guess my releases, not new releases, because it's the first time of opening my shop. So I'm going to give you guys a preview of all the sticker kits that will be coming out in my shop starting next week on Monday. And then I'll also be providing you guys with a discount code, a coupon code, so that way you guys can get a discount if you shop in my shop and you watch my YouTube videos. Until next time, bye guys.